Hello and welcome. I'm Kriti Mehta and you're watching the World Report on NewsX World. Let's take a look at the top headlines this hour. A member of Iran's security forces was killed during protests that have swept across the country since last week, local media reports. Several people killed and others injured after an explosion ripped through a bar in the luxury alpine ski resort town of Crans-Montana. In a first, 34-year-old New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani takes his oath on a centuries-old Quran. He now becomes the first Muslim, South Asian and an African-born person to hold that position. Australia removes tariffs from all Indian exports to the country, implementing the agreements reached under the Australia-India Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement signed 3 years ago. The United States has carried out strikes against 3 vessels in international waters that were suspected of narco trafficking. According to the U.S. Southern Command, the vessels were traveling as a convoy. U.S. President Donald Trump has announced the withdrawal of National Guard troops from Portland, Chicago and Los Angeles, hints at stronger comeback in the future. Russian President Vladimir Putin voiced his confidence on victory in Ukraine, while his Ukrainian counterpart Zelensky warned that peace cannot come at any cost. Elon Musk's brain implant company Neuralink will start high-volume production of brain-computer interface devices and move to an entirely automated surgical procedure in 2026. All right, viewers, let's track the news that's coming in from Switzerland. Swiss media have reported that more than 100 people were in the bar at the time of the explosion in the Swiss ski town of Crans-Montana last night. Several people were killed and many others were injured in the major explosion at the Le Constellation Bar and Lounge in Switzerland during New Year's Eve celebrations. Emergency services rushed to the scene as authorities launched an investigation to determine the cause of the blast. According to local media reports, the fire was caused by a fireworks and pyrotechnics display gone wrong. All right, now moving ahead to cover some news from Taiwan. President Lai has said that the island is determined to defend its sovereignty and boost its defense in the face of China's increasing expansion after Beijing fired rockets towards the island as part of military drills. Lai's speech came just 2 days after the Chinese exercises named Justice Mission 2025. China fired dozens of rockets towards Taiwan and deployed a large number of warships and aircraft near the island in a show of force. The drills drew concern from Western allies, including the European Commission and Britain. Let's hear that.
今年的第一天，我也要再次呼吁，面对中国严峻的军事野心，台湾没有时间等待，更没有时间内耗。我们可以对许多议题有不同的看法，但没有强韧的国防，就不会有国家，更不会有我们彼此争辩的空间。这应该是要不分党派的全民共识，期盼朝野携手合作，顺利让重要的国防预算赶紧通。所以，投资国防就等于在投资和平。 这一次中国的军演，我们可以看得到，解放军演习的科目里面有特别针对台湾新增的战力作为假想敌来演练，就可以看得出来，我们这一次军演军购的项目对台湾的国防安全是必要的。那这一笔国防预算对台湾向国际社会展现守护国家决心，维护区域和平发展。
Meanwhile, China has accused Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te of spreading falsehoods after his New Year address vowing to defend the island's sovereignty. Beijing said the speech misrepresented realities across the Taiwan Strait and deliberately stoked hostility accusing Lai of undermining stability and escalating tensions. And I welcome Andrew KP Leong, who's a China strategist, to join me in this discussion. He joins us from Hong Kong. Thank you very much, Mr. Leong, for joining me in this discussion, and I extend you a very warm New Year greeting on behalf of NewsX World. Mr. Leong, now Lai Ching-te, announcing that he will do anything to defend sovereignty comes around the same time that Xi Jinping is saying nothing can stop from China from uniting with Taiwan. These are absolutely contradictory statements. Of course, it's long been the status quo, but do you suspect any change happening?
Well, the Taiwan leader's remarks are in the context of a contested motion to increase significantly Taiwan's defense budget. Because the legislature in Taiwan is now controlled by the more pro-Beijing or less confrontational against Beijing's the party, the Kuomintang. Whereas the administration, of course, the leadership is controlled by the Democratic Party, and with the leader, who the current leader, known to be a long-term separatist, and hence the controversy over increasing significantly Taiwan's defense budget, because this is seen to be further worsen the relationship across the Taiwan Strait. The last provocation came from Japan, the Prime Minister Takaichi's remarks, which led to a series of massive military exercises surrounding Taiwan, and that rattles Taiwan's own sense of security and also security around the region. And so the less confrontational party, which now leads the legislature, is now opposing these massive increases in Taiwan's defense budget, and that's the context.
Right, sure, but the statement is also coming in after Donald Trump had said that he would not be worried with the Chinese exercises in the Taiwan Strait area. He said he sees them as routine. No statement, like you said, came in from Takaichi recently. However, she's had a rather conspicuous silence of late. But both Taiwan and China have sent out rather strong statements. How do you view this geopolitical scenario shaping in the context of what Trump had said?
Well, I think that the President Trump did mention his alleged very close friendship with President Xi, while at the same time trying all measures to contain the rise of China, and also doubling down on the first island chain, the military assets, as part of China's containment, while still leaving the possibility of further tariffs and other sanctions against China. So I think that this is a double talk as far as China is concerned, and Beijing knows it, and because both countries are now locked in very close rivalry. But as far as Taiwan is concerned, the United States policy remains consistent in the sense that on the one hand, it abides by the one China policy, at least in rhetoric, and it doesn't take any fixed view on Taiwan's future, but opposes unilateral use of force to change the status quo, and still prefers the future solution over Taiwan to be decided by negotiations on both sides. So remains Americans' position, but that's on the one hand. On the other hand, of course, there is the Taiwan Relations Act, which empowers the United States to continue to supply arms to Taiwan, and hence related to the current budget increase, because Taiwan is still regarded as a useful ploy to contain the rise of China.
Sure. Well, for now, thank you very much then, Mr. Leong, for joining me in this discussion.
Thank you. Thank you.
And with that, viewers, we're now going to proceed to cover some news from Africa. Let's in fact tell you that the Sudanese government has announced an extension of the aid crossing on the border with Chad for international humanitarian aid. The extension is said to remain open from January 1 until March 31. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has said the decision reflects the government's commitment to helping people in need. The government will also coordinate with international aid organizations in line with global humanitarian law. The move comes after atrocities by the Rapid Support Forces in El Fasher, Babusana and the Higlig left thousands of civilians victimized. Moreover, the ministry has also called on friendly nations and aid organizations to rally support and provide necessary assistance to the Sudanese people during this crisis period. I now have Ayanuga Olabenga Paul, who is a public affairs analyst, and he joins us from Lagos in Nigeria. Very happy New Year to you, Mr. Paul, and thank you very much for joining us here at NewsX World on the New Year Day. What do you think are going to be some of the challenges as far as the aid corridors that have been opened up?
Well, I believe that the government is trying to show itself now that is on the side of the people, because they have seen that as the war is raging, the people do not know whose side to be on, whether the RSF side or the government side, and the government needs to shape the narrative to show itself to be on the side of people by allowing humanitarian pass. But the challenge that I see or foresee is the fact that even Chad itself has its own fair share of insurgency and banditry challenge, in that the humanitarian corridor opened there, even though the Sudanese side might want to do their best to make sure that there is free flow of traffic in the humanitarian corridor. But on the Chadian side, bandits, pirates, who may want to take advantage because they also need some of these supplies, might pose a challenge to them, and the RSF force might want to be a spoiler to those are some of the challenges that I see. But I believe that this is not the first time that they are having this corridor open. They did the same thing in August 2024 for 3 months to extend the opening of that humanitarian corridor to that time, and lessons learned from there in this continuous situation will be useful in ensuring that there is smooth delivery of humanitarian aid. The other challenge that I see is the quantity and quality of humanitarian aid available. As you can see from the press statement, that they are calling on international organizations to assist, to supply. And let's not forget that about 2 months ago, the United Nations Aid Agency has said that their capacity to supply aid to Sudan is acutely depleted, so much so that things they could do to take care of maybe about 1.5 million people before, they have the quantity left can only serve maybe about 600,000 or less if there is no immediate supply to shore up what they have in store. And this might also pose a challenge, because don't forget that the people are in a tight fix now, and they may once they see that these aids are coming, if there is not enough, it might lead to stampede, it might lead to people also infighting amongst the survivors themselves, the civilian survivors, to get these aids for their family, because the primal instinct of every human being or every animal to survive will then kick in, such that there might be disorderliness in the camp. And that is why as many support as they can get from as many international donor agencies and individuals who can assist, it will be appreciated at this time, especially during this 3-month corridor, to help people get a little respite, and hopefully that the opening of this humanitarian corridor will also lead to further discussion for further continued discussion on the peace arrangement that will lead to a lasting peace in that region.
Mr. Paul, now you would recall how the same Ada crossing was closed earlier in 2024, because of the suspected use of the route for smuggling of weapons to the
take advantage thereof. What I think they have done is to be able to better man the area such that the surveillance and security check will be increased, so that they will be able to reduce, they won't be able to stop totally, because let's not forget that some of the challenge that they will be having with this issue is also the underpaid, underfed, under-remunerated security officials at the borders from the Sudanese forces itself, who knows that if they die in the line of duty, there is no hope for their families back at home. They are the only breadwinner, and by the time this whole scenario ends, that they can't return back to the barracks or to their various homes, they may not have enough money or resources to fall back upon. So they will take advantage of, because that's how it has always been all around the world. So it's not a Sudanese thing, or wherever there is war, or people want to make quick profit, because war is money, war is a business, and so everybody along the value chain wants to make money. So if Sudan will look at its own armed forces and be able to give them hope, by doing programs that will assure the army officers that they will never be left behind, even post-conflict and even during the conflict, in terms of their remuneration, in terms of their welfare, because if an army officer is sleeping in tents that are unkempt, that their provisions are not properly supplied, and an arms dealer says, come, I will offer you $100,000, let my goods pass, and they know that by the time maybe 6 or 7 of them manning such posts share it, they will be able to settle down and help their families. I mean, every human being will be tempted in such situation to want to take advantage of it. So the Sudanese government needs to work on it, because I also see that this welfare of army officers on the front is also the reason why RSF is gaining ground, because there is no morale. The same thing is what we are seeing in Congo Kinshasa, where the M23 rebels seems to be gaining ground, because sometimes the troops on the ground, the boots on the ground, are not well taken care of, and you can't be seeing your commanding officer, the majors, the colonels, the generals, living large, and you are living, barely surviving, and you will put your whole heart into the duties that you have been called upon. And I think once that is addressed, that they will be able to get better results in reducing proliferation of arms that goes through to the RSF.
All right, sure. Well, thanks for your perspective and that explanation there. But do continue to stay on with me, Mr. Paul. Because let's also tell you that the government of the Democratic Republic of Congo has now said that more than 1,500 civilians have been killed in escalating violence in the country's eastern province of South Kivu since early December. In a statement, the government said fighting has intensified in several areas of the province, particularly along the Kamanyola-Uvira axis, where armed operations have triggered large-scale displacement. Meanwhile, more than 500,000 people have been forced to flee their homes amid continuing insecurity. The government said the front lines have gradually shifted southward, affecting multiple areas in South Kivu, including Uvira, Fizi, and Mwenga. The authorities attributed the escalation to armed groups operating in the region, accusing them of violating existing commitments and international humanitarian law. The government reiterated its determination to restore state authority nationwide and to seek accountability for those responsible through diplomatic and judicial channels. Eastern DRC has faced decades of instability, a situation that has worsened since the resurgence of the March 23 movement rebel group in late 2021. Kinshasa has repeatedly accused neighboring Rwanda of backing the group, an allegation Kigali has denied. I now request Mr. Paul to join me back in the discussion here. Mr. Paul, do you think that Rwanda will take any action now to, curb M23 from carrying out this militant attacks and warfare?
I think everybody focuses on Rwanda, and Rwanda, to me, is not the problem. Even if you look at the map, just go back to the map, look at the map, look at how tiny Rwanda is, and look at how vast Kinshasa, Congo is. And you tell me that a small, tiny nation that is not up to one state inside Congo is the one that is not allowing the whole Congo to have peace of mind. I mean, if you believe that, I don't know what to say, because I just believe that this Rwandan angle is just an international angle that is long game. And the long game to me seems to be how to depose Paul Kagame, because his success is inspiring a lot of people, and they don't want that for Africa. That is I might be wrong, But back to the issue on ground, like I've said earlier when I was talking about the RSF in Sudan, I think that the Congolese government itself needs to look inward. For example, I am not comfortable with the statement they put out, especially the part where they said that, they will bring all the people who are escalating this country, this conflict, that is the M23 rebel, they will bring them to justice through judicial and diplomatic routes. Now, yes, that is the right thing to do. But if you want this tension to be doused, I don't think that is the right thing to say at the moment. Because if you want people to lay down their arms and you are threatening them that once you lay down your arms, we are going to bring you to justice, do you think that they will lay down their arms? People who have already taken up swaths of territory and who are even doing better job at defending those territory than the government forces, and you are telling them that, we'll bring you to justice, meaning that you might be jailed, you might be sentenced to death, maybe by firing squad or by hanging. Do you think any human being in his right senses will lay down his arm if he is hearing that? Yes, the reality is everybody must be brought to justice. That is true. But must you say it? Must you, put it forward at the moment such that, you rather than douse the conflict, inspire confidence in the rebel forces to seek for negotiation, you are only making them feel that if I surrender, I die. If I hold on to my position, I die. Let me just hold on to my position and die. Because that is the message, that is the signal the rebels are getting when they hear this strong statement from the government representative, and that will not do anything in reducing the crime that is ongoing or reducing the spate of wanton deaths that is.
All right, we suspect some audio failure there, but we thank our guest, Mr. Paul, for joining us and giving his perspective there. And with that, viewers, we're now going to proceed to some news from Venezuela. The Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has said in an end-of-year address that Venezuela is overcoming a decade of sanctions and are in an optimal position to face new challenges. Maduro has pledged to strengthen technical and military development to guarantee national sovereignty and called for unity to defend independence from imperial threats. Let's listen to what Maduro said.
Y nos blindan a nuestro país en su camino hacia el futuro. Los números de crecimiento de nuestra economía real en condiciones de asedio, ataque y bloqueo imperialista confirman una verdad mayor. Vamos superando el cerco impuesto hace una década y estamos en condiciones óptimas de enfrentar todos los nuevos retos con más preparación, más trabajo, más creatividad, más experiencia y la unión perfecta de todo un país que produce y trabaja.
That's all we have time for. Do keep watching NewsX World for more international news and updates.